I'm Peter Newsome. I make sculpture in glass. I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I like to work in good quality media that I think is comparable to glass. Things like marble, bronze, stainless steel. However, glass to me is special, and more than 95% of my practice is actually based on sculpture in glass. I came across this picture and quotation from Van Eyck. I think of myself very much like that boy, playing with what is now a young technology of glass engineering. As I say, I work with sheet glass and I bond those layers of glass in a way which actually builds up a three-dimensional piece of sculpture. It has the advantage that I'm able to work single-handedly. It means that I can work almost any scale. Some of my pieces are perhaps 2.5 meters in height. However, it does have the disadvantage compared with traditional technique that it is slow, very slow. For me, it's a matter of weeks, sometimes months of work to create a single piece of sculpture. But I think it's worth the effort. This sculpture, I've embedded the words of a poem by my late wife, Christine Cambray, within the layers of the sculpture. It's not engraved on the surface. They are arranged in a three-dimensional way. Some of them are duplicated to give stress, so they're all actually within the sculpture. The design process is a long one, but one way or another I'm fortunate in being able to manipulate the idea of the sculpture within my mind. But there comes a point where one wants to do something more concrete. I start by drawing sometimes. Perhaps I'm a little bit unusual in that I like to work at full scale. This is a plan of some of the layers that go up to make this piece, which I call If. It was actually based on a prayer flag that I saw many years ago on newsreel in the Himalayas about the time of the Chinese invasion of Tibet. Drawing is fine, but particularly with large pieces, I like sometimes to make maquettes. Sometimes these are also useful to actually show a client to give an idea of the finished sculpture. There are many pieces of glass which go to make up one of my sculptures. I just completed a piece which has actually got something in the region of 600 pieces of individual glass within one sculpture. That's exceptional, but there's always a good many pieces, which are often very similar, and it's terribly easy to get them mixed up because each piece of glass, after it's been cut, has to go through a process of cleaning and priming and so on. Just getting ready for bonding is quite a process. And with a lot of pieces, you can imagine each of those pieces has to be handled through that sequence. Here you can see a sculpture based on the violin. Something I strive for in my sculpture is fluidity. That idea was also in my mind when I saw some pigeons going through their courting rituals and so on, and I thought, yeah, that's I'll do a sculpture based on that. The piece called Stream, it was based on the flow of water in a mountain stream, and as I said, one has to deal with a good many different technical problems one way or another as a sculptor, and I enjoy tackling those. Sometimes it's a case of one tries this way and then that, but eventually you get there. And this was the inspiration for this little chap, which I call There Is a Way. I've used a bit of ruby red glass for the lips of this kissing couple, and I was pleased to use that for this particular piece because it gives focus. However, as a generality, I avoid using certainly a great deal of highly coloured glass, because as soon as one introduces colour, the eye does focus on that. And I'm primarily interested in much of my sculpture with the idea of this synthesis of light and form, and it detracts from that. I find that blue is a cobalt blue glass, somehow harmonises with the sculpture. Sometimes one has to play, and and this was inspired by childhood games, you know, stack of cards and so on. Again, more playful mood. I've made this piece, which I suppose one should describe as a vitrine, in that it's a glass enclosure with sculpture within it. Like I said, I'm just that boy with his tangible pieces of luminous matter. Thank you.